Winston. All right, it's the end of the session. This is, Winston. This is Winston. And this is Bindi. And Ollie, you can't see or hear. He's been barking outside. He's a blind dog, and he's the older dog. And this is their roadmap to success. And so that is Bindi. And so basically, we met outside just to set him up for success. Probably didn't really need to, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. I call that meeting protocol 1. So what I would do is I would arrange to have friends come over and practice that. Neighbors are great because they can come by real quick, and it's not a long journey for them to come as long as it was for me. And basically what you want to do is you would also practice that by leaving that trail of treats out there and leading them to where I was when there's nobody out there. And there's no busyness on the street. You don't have kids with bicycles, there's no trash can, there's no construction, there's no jets overhead. And so the dog gets used to, just sometimes I come out and there's a trail of treats, I go over to the garage, and I sit down, and then sometimes I go over there and I go to the trail of treats and there's somebody sitting on the garage now, or sitting on the ground. Now, when I did it, when you get going down your path, you get to a point where the dog is about to get far enough out where it can see this direction. So what I do is right before that point, before the dog gets there, I have like 2 treats there. So I want the dog to gobble those up so it's got 2 treats in its mouth when it turns the corner and sees it, because the dogs know that it's rude to bark when you have food in your mouth. But no, because now I have that positive association, then I turn and I see the people there, but I'm chewing. So that it helps mitigate that a little bit. And then the treats are about maybe 2 to 3 or 4 feet apart. After you've done it enough, you don't have to have the treats so close together. But as the treats as the dog gets close to the person, you want to have the treats come kind of quicker together, maybe about 12 inches apart. And then you might want to get some of this stuff, which we'll talk about here in a sec. This is the Stewart's Pro Treat. This is beef liver for dogs. This is frozen beef dried. Freeze-dried beef liver. And so they're big chunks. And so that's usually the one that I talked about when right before the dog's gonna see it. This is where I'd have that chunk. Sit. Sit. So you see how long it's taking. Well, I don't know if you can see it in the ankle, but it takes the dog a minute to chew it. You wanna come up here, buddy? Bindi. Come here, Bindi. Come on. Come on. Bindi. Yes. Okay, so if you get some of this stuff, that way you can have, I would use the trail of treats, I would use these, and when you do these, put them on the flat side so they don't roll around. It was windy as heck out today. But basically, that way the dog gets used to this trail of treats, and then they got the big chunk in their mouth right when they see the person. And I usually put another one of these chunks right by the person's butt, lead the dog up to the person's backside, let him sniff as long as they're not growling or doing anything uncomfortable. That's not supposed to be, that's a very nice Bindi. And then the dog meets the person, gets to smell the person a couple times, and then the person at that point, once they've sniffed the person a couple times, then the person can pull out a treat and hold the treat off to their side. So you want to hold it like kind of this way or this way off to the side, and that way the dog gets a treat from the person. I usually hold my hand out, they lick it off, and I leave my hand there. They'll sometimes come and lick it a second time. Do that about 2 or 3 treats, then walk just to the corner and back, and then come in the house. And maybe you probably can repeat it with both dogs. I don't think you have to repeat it with him as much as with her. But eventually, now I'm just used to going outside, find this trail of treats. We meet somebody, we go for a mini walk, we come back inside, and when you come back inside, those people should have a couple treats, and then they should ask the dog to sit or lie down and give them treats for doing those particular things. So now the dog practices meeting people in a positive way, a lot of distractions, and then I practice listening to those people, because when I sit, they give me a treat. Sit. Thank you, buddy. That's not quite a sit. That's like a sit on me. All right. Now, Oliver is a blind dog, and so basically, a lot of us, when we have a dog that has an injury, we feel sorry for them, and we try to remove all rules and structure, and sometimes that creates problems. So in Oliver's case, because he's a blind dog, and Bindi is a little bit anxious, Oliver sometimes just careens into her, and when she happens to have a ball or something. So a couple things. I would get a little bell and put it on a collar so that she can hear that bell. Now, I would also set her up for success for that. So what I would do is before I start putting on him, or get 2 of them, have one of them, and then basically show her that you have a treat. And I'll do it right here. You're probably going to go try to take it. All right, so and Oliver's like, I can hear that treat bag opening. So what I would do is I'd take a treat and I'd roll it away. Jingle, jingle. She just licked it up. So you throw the treat several feet away. When she goes away and gets it, jingle the bell. And jingle it about the same intensity that he's going to make as he moves around the room. So now when she hears the bell, if she runs away from the sound of the bell, she gets a reward. So you would do this at first by yourself. So you can eventually do it with him on your lap and just jiggle the bell. But when you're first training it, you would just have the bell yourself. And you have a clamp so it doesn't make a sound. Show her that you have it, throw it, jingle. So as soon as it goes into her mouth, when she's several feet away, you jingle it. Then I would do it like this way. Throw it over there, jingle. And throw it pretty good distance. So what you're doing is teaching her, when you hear the jingle, to run away. And if you run away, you get something good. And after a while, she might hear the jingle and start instinctively moving away from Oliver instead of the guardians having to worry about, is she going to snarl or nip at him? And he's an older dog. You want to make sure his last days are good. I'm not saying it's his last days, but he's older than I am in dog years. All right. Let me see. I also have an Omega Paw treat ball here that I'm going to leave with the guardians. This is a medium one. I would like the guardians to take some of these treats, but eventually some of the kibble and some of these treats. And I'd like them to get an X pen. X pen is just a 8-panel little portable gate area they can kind of put in different parts of the house. So we could put Oliver in there and then load this thing up with some of these and some of his kibble, and then he's got to use his nose and he'll nudge it, and then a couple pieces of kibble come out and he'll find it with his nose on the ground. We put him in that gated area so these two can't come and steal his food and take advantage of it. And so after a while, this is a nice thing that he can do that's a nice way to burn some energy. It boosts his confidence. It helps him practice one of his senses, which will help in the long run. I'd also like the guardians to get some snuffle mats and to feed the dogs out of snuffle mats. Now, snuffle mats that I get are the ones that on the back side, it doesn't have the webbing. It's basically, it's all sewn in. And you can wash them in your washing machine. So you don't have to get the giant ones. They'll probably be about $15-20 a piece. But the idea, or maybe a little bit more. But now this way the dog can, each time we feed them, it's a nice way to burn some energy just by feeding them. Now, when you're feeding the dogs, I would feed Oliver separate because he's the old dog. We're just going to let him do his thing in a different room. Then I would basically have the guardian who's feeding them is going to eat something first. And I would probably put, since we're probably going to feed Winston first, put his snuffle mat in the kitchen, load it up with his food, and then have hers somewhere else in the kitchen, but empty. And then basically, you're going to go and eat some food, and you might and make sure they're both out of the kitchen in the video that I described above using that method. And then basically, you go in the kitchen, go to the very back of the kitchen, and grab your carrot, piece of celery, whatever it is, and you eat it in 5 more bites, or a real meal if you can. And then you're going to invite Winston to come in. When Winston takes his first bite of food, come up with a command word for him to eat. Call it like pizza, meatball, lasagna, sausage, chimichanga, Wiener Schnitzel, whatever it is. And so when he takes his first bite of food, he hears the word Wiener Schnitzel. When Bindi hears Wiener Schnitzel, there's no food in her mouth. So it doesn't mean anything to her, but to him, it's the command word. And after a while, then you'll be able to just say Wiener Schnitzel, and he'll run in and eat, and she waits outside. You know, when he's eating, like I talked about in the video above, we're not going to let her into the kitchen. So at first you'll have to be in the kitchen policing it, but eventually you could be sitting at the table there, and eventually then you can be moving further away, and she'll just know to stay out of the kitchen. And while he's eating. That way he gets to see the humans acting like a leader, and she sees it as well, even though they're denying her from what she wants to do. Once he gets done, then he leaves. We pick up the snuffle mat, make sure we dump everything out. We put the snuffle mat up so there's nothing to guard. Then we bring her in, and when she's in, Winston's allowed to be in the kitchen. So this way we can get a little bit of feeding, some exercise in, some discipline, help the dog practice a little self-restraint and self-control. And it's an activity we're going to do twice a day anyways. All right, we also talked about ways of exercising the dogs. These dogs need exercise, specifically Bindi. But Winston can use some exercise too. You want to come up here and get this? And she is an anxious dog. Unfortunately, the guardians, to their credit, they recognized that it was an aversive training method. Unfortunately, in Nebraska, most of the trainers use aversive training methods. Shock collars, choke chains. They used a company whose name is synonymous with the state. And so to make a long story short, they were using some of the things that were during the training classes that most likely contributed to some of Bindi's anxiety. And so fortunately, they've stopped doing those things. One of the things they were doing is correcting or disagreeing with the dog when she was growling. A growl is the antithesis of aggression. It's saying, I disagree, I don't like something. So if I say I don't like something and somebody says, be quiet, or punishes me for communicating that, well, then I'm going to figure out I got to handle that myself, and it's probably going to make me feel nervous and anxious and frustrated, and those are not positive attributes. So what we want to do is we want her to have to feel good. So if she does growl, we want to not correct or disagree with the growl. We want to identify why she felt the need to growl in the first place. Oh, she's growling because she has a bully stick and Oliver came too close. So maybe we have a bully stick, give her a bully stick, and then we have that bell, and we're sitting there. Trying to think. That I'm kind of mixing poisons. What I described about with the bell would probably be the best way to do it. But also, maybe when she has a bully stick, that's when we put Oliver in that X pen with one of these things. And maybe he doesn't. This is a snack for him. So now he's occupied and he's doing something that's burning some energy. She doesn't have to worry about him bumping into her because he can't get to her. So we're kind of creating a situation where she's safe, and the more she practices things, the more she's going to continue to act out that way. And I think that she just got so used to doing it across the board, she's not even realizing when she growls half the time. But yes, I see her saying, please, I would throw this, but this is not the fetch ball. We're going to talk about fetch in a minute. Okay, so exercise is going to be really important for all of them. And so one of the things I went over is the doggy stairmaster, which I think will be really helpful for all of them. So I show her that I have a treat. Throw the treat to the bottom of the stairs. When she licks it up, I come up with a word that means to go down the stairs. I often say like Mexico. So the treat goes in the mouth first, then she hears the command word. Then I show her I have another treat. She runs up here, and then I give her another treat and say maybe Canada. And so I keep, hello. And then I keep count each down up as one. And the first time I do it with an empty stomach, keep throwing those treats up and down the stairs with only one dog there at a time. Winston would be outside or somewhere else when we're doing this. And count and keep doing it until she's maxed out. Remember, to always do it with an empty stomach. And then let's say her maximum number is 75. We'd probably exercise her 50 to 75% maximum number multiple times a day. Now remember, we can exercise her before going for a walk, before people are going to come by, before neighbors are going to be walking by the house, kids coming back from school or whatever it is. You can exercise your dog to set them up for success. Let me see. We also went over set games, which is just hiding treats around the house. And every time the dog licks up, we say hunt or search or find. I shouldn't be petting you for jumping up. And remember, so you're going to say just the command word, not good hunt, just hunt. And since she likes to play fetch, I would definitely, you got a whistler ball there, huh? Yes. Sit. So I don't know if you can see her in the shot, but she's kind of bouncing around. If I throw the ball or she's anxious and she's quivering and I throw the ball, then I'm rewarding that unbalanced state of mind. So what I did is I asked her to sit. She didn't sit, so I'm not going to throw it, but I'm not going to tell her to do it multiple times. Now, what I was doing at first is I was only doing it when she was not bouncing and would settle down. She wouldn't sit. We'd like to eventually get there. But right now, so she's a little bit anxious. She's, and so if I engage with her, that's rewarding that anxiety, and we need to reduce her anxiety. And that is going to make she's going to do this more if that's what causes me to throw it. So I'm just going to ignore this behavior. And once she's kind of settled, then I'm going to tell her to sit again. And she might not sit, but even if she stays settled, then I would throw the ball. Now, when I throw it, I really say it 3 times. As I throw it, I say fetch. When the dog picks it up with their mouth, I say fetch. When they come back and I either give them a treat or pet them, I say fetch a 3rd time. And so that connects all 3 elements. And playing fetch is a great way for her to burn energy. It's also a great way for you to add a little bit of that structure that we talked about. And so right now, this bouncing up and down, throw it, 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 throw it. That's not healthy energy for her. And so, but we see that mouth open, we perceive that as a smile, but usually the dog's stressed or out of breath. So I'm going to wait for this energy to subside. Now I could throw it the instant the energy subsides. I could throw it the instant she sits down, or if I told her to do it. But I'm not even looking at her when she's doing this. Nothing that she does gets any response from me other than sitting or being calm. And either one of those things gets the ultimate response for her, which is me throwing the ball. But again, I'm using this as leverage to prevent her from thinking that the wrong thing is what's going to be rewarding her. And this is what a very common mistake people will make with dogs. And we condition our dogs to get anxious or to jump up or bark at us, or all those things. Remember, any attention is validating. So if Oliver's barking and you say quiet, I promise you that will make him bark more. So when Oliver sits, that passive training we talked about will work great. So every time he sits, make sure you pet him when he sits. After a while, he'll start figuring. He'll come and start sitting down. Or he'll lay down more often because that gets the attention. If he walks over, that's totally okay. I got the ball to keep you occupied. All right, let me see. So that's exercise. We also talked about enforcing rules. As you can see, we have a bunch of we have dog beds, we have blankets, and all stuff on the couch. Well, for dogs, the higher they sit, the more rank or status they have. And we have another couch over here where the dogs get right up here. So they at least Winston does. And that creates a rivalry situation. Also, I'm up here, or I'm going to jump up here to try to challenge you and all that sort of stuff. Also, I can climb up on top of the humans, which is an indication of lack of respect for you as an authority figure. So what I would recommend is getting those X mats and putting them on all the furniture. I would get the ottoman. I'd put it in the garage for a while and just turn it up on its side so I can't get up on it. At the same time, condition them to go to the dog bed the way I showed you. Now, if you forget how to do that, let me know, and I'm happy to go over that with you. We can also, let me see, those X mats will about $11 a piece. I get them. They're well worth it. And so if I'm going to get up and go to get a drink of water, I would take the X mat that's under the floor. I'd unfold it and put it right here. I go get a drink of water. She runs up here and is like, sweet, I can get on the, oh, darn it, that white thing is there. And so at the same time, we'll condition them to go to dog bed. Remember, the first way is I throw a treat, about 10 treats there. That's how quickly she went over there. And then every time she looks up, we say Jamaica. And you get a dog bed, get one that's light cream, light gray, lighter than this, or white. And no cushion, no divots in it. So it's just, I throw one on there, they can see it easily. And I would get probably a large, so you can get 2 or 3 dogs together. I really like that. That's a good sit at the door. We're not at that rule yet, though, buddy. So you throw 10 or 15 treats, and every time the dog, one at a time, the dog licks it up, we say Jamaica. Then we wait for the dog to not be looking, and I throw a treat when the dog's not paying attention, and we just wait for the dog to observe it. When they run over, see it, run over and lick it up, we say Jamaica. Then I can lead her over there, put her into a sit. I didn't say fetch, but she was calm there. She didn't sit, but she at least. So, and again, don't try to take it from her. Drop. Sit. And remember, you have 3 seconds. Dogs look to repetition, consistency, and good timing. So if I tell her to sit and she doesn't sit, I repeat it, or I throw it, or I keep going, then I'm telling her she can sit or be calm whenever she wants. So I'm saying sit and be calm. If you do it within 3 seconds, then I'll do it. If you do it any other time, it doesn't matter to me anymore. I'm on to the next thing. Okay, so sit. Fetch. Now, if she starts barking, that is an indication she's overexcited. So if she's barking, she's anxious. She starts doing this, and she does this too much. Take her to the dog to the steps and do this doggy stairmaster or the scent games. So you don't want to engage with her when she starts barking, because then she'll continue starting to do that as well. Okay, getting back to rules. Other rules shouldn't be allowed in the kitchen, as we talked about in the video above when we're preparing food. Shouldn't be allowed to run the dining room table. And I've seen people with painter's tape down, but I would recommend that you get some carpet and put that down. So again, you can go lay and cuddle with your dogs and lay and watch TV on your big screen. Oh, it's not a big screen. I thought that the whole time. Thought that this is a big screen with a straight screensaver on it. It's just it's a painting or a picture. It's a TV. It is a TV. Okay, well, it's just frozen there. I looked up from the side. I'm like, oh, that's just a frozen. Anyways. Also for Oliver, you might want to go to Carpetland and get little strips of carpet and kind of lead it to the kitchen. I know he kind of knows where stuff is, but those can be nice ways for the blind dogs to kind of, they feel that sensation. Okay, I know I'm going in this one. And it helps actually if you have different strips going to different locations so they can feel the different texture. Okay, so other rules, sitting at the door, which is what Winston did a minute ago. So if I go to the door, I tell the dog to sit. If the dog wants to go outside, the dog has 3 seconds to sit. If it doesn't sit within 3 seconds of the first time I say it, I walk away and I sit down and I wait 1 minute. After 1 minute, and if the dog's whining and whimpering, I might not even start the timer until that stops. Once the dog starts whining and whimpering, I start the timer. After 1 minute, I go back there and command them to sit. If the dog doesn't sit this time within 3 seconds, I walk away and sit down for 2 minutes. Next time I sit down for 4, 8, 16, so on. But as soon as the dog sits, I fly the door open and let the dog out. After a while, right now Winston sits at the door, but that might be something we can get Bindi to do as well. Do it on both directions. Open the door and say sit. If they don't sit, then close the door. Also, you might want to get that piece of plexiglass if they're scratching on the outside of the door so they're not causing you to feel that and go over there, and that's going to train them to do it. I'd also probably the paper that I talked about, I would put it on the bottom 2 panes of the window right by the door. I would probably put it on the outside of the door for the door right there, probably about to where your third jingle bell is. I would probably do it on these 2 windows as well, because they kind of patrol the backyard. Well, this way they can go out, they can't see it. So if they see a rabbit out there, they freak out, and they're, let me out, and then they run out, and again, we're channeling all that. And so if you put it down, just, maybe just hold the treat up so the dog's on its hind legs so you can see how high they can see. Maybe do a little bit higher so if they jump, And then they go over there and they can't see if the barks make the delivery people leave, or if there's a reason they need to patrol the backyard. These dogs are kind of in sentry guard mode. I think that's how they think they contribute to the group. They protect or guard the house. We want to demote them. So we want to take away all elements that are related to that. I'd also probably recommend taking away all the squeaky toys, because I think being terriers, they're practicing killing things. Also, I would get a water buffalo horn or two. Those are great toys for dogs. They usually chew them. They usually outlast the dogs. Use that passive training for all your toys. Oh, I guess you do have stuffies. I didn't see them on top of the fireplace. And so you take them away, then the dogs can't get them, the stuffies. And maybe that's good for the ones that squeak. But I like to have a basket. I usually like a wire mesh basket, because wicker, they'll chew themselves. But if you have a wire mesh basket somewhere, and then you pick up all the toys and put it in there, then that's half the fun, to go and see which toy I want to go play with. Let me see, what else? Make sure you're eating something before you feed the dogs. Make sure that you're careful not to say, "Kukura, it's okay," or something like that when the dogs are anxious or nervous, because a lot of times we create a command word for the exact opposite of what we want. I also want you to pet the dogs with a purpose and practice passive training. So petting with a purpose is the dog is telling you what to do. You're going to, remember, leaders tell, followers ask. So the dog comes up and jumps up, nudges, barks, or whimpers or whines. Tell the dog to do something. Sit. If it's already sitting here, ask it to sit here, or ask it to lay down. If it does it within 3 seconds, then reach over and pet it under its chin, and remember, say just the word sit, not good sit. If it doesn't, show the dog, hey, playing hard to get works great for dogs. So I'm watching TV, I'm gonna read the magazine, I'm gonna check my phone for emails, I'm gonna do yoga, whatever it is. I got other things I can do. I wanted to pet you, but you couldn't be bothered to sit. If you start taking away that affection, if the dog doesn't comply, it makes it more powerful for you, and it's more desirable for the dog. And so after a while, the dog will start coming and sitting in front of you to prepay for the attention. When it does, you bet your butt, you better pet for that. Otherwise, they'll go back to doing the other thing. So after a while, the dogs, like I said, will start sitting to prepay to ask you for that attention. Now, if it does it, and then you pet it, and then it resits, and you pet it again, and it resits, what does that mean? Need more exercise. Take them to the stairs and spend that 5 minutes. Again, start to associate bad behavior, nuisance behavior, or boisterousness is the dog's way of crying out, I need some exercise, please. And that's why I would recommend that getting that eye fetch. If you teach them to use that eye fetch, I think that'll be a game changer for you guys, because you can just condition them, just say Shark Tank, and they go over and play fart, or whatever you want to do. And then the dogs are able to play fetch, especially Bindi for herself, and wearing off that energy is going to really set her up for success. All right, getting back to petting with a purpose. Remember to use the watchword of paycheck. Means I suspect you forgot to pet. Excuse me, with a purpose. So if I'm petting, also you might want to get some of those bully sticks. If you have guests come over, these are great things to give the dogs, and the guest gives these to the dogs, but the dog has to sit for these. So, and go to the green spot, or you can try to get these online. So get the odor-free or the low-odor ones. Unless the ones you have are not giving the dogs gas, keep on using those. But basically now, when the guest comes over, I get something really awesome from the guest. But we also set them up for success by exercising them first, and then when they're stressed, they like to chew things, so we give them something appropriate to chew. Remember, this means please. She's saying please right now. She really wants me to throw the ball. Sit. Fetch. But again, if you throw it and she barks like that, that means she's at top level of energy. So that means that we want to, and she just jumped up on the ottoman, and Winston's already there. And she kind of, well, he was already there. And so she's trying to make him leave, but he didn't do anything wrong. To his credit, he's not doing anything. But again, they're just starting to play with each other a little bit. It'd be great if they did, but the more that she is less anxious, because we don't like to talk to somebody who has 23 cups of coffee in them. It's kind of what her anxiety is like for him. And to his credit, he's not doing it, he's not disagreeing with it. But he is barking back a little bit when they do get into it. We don't want that to get to be the case. So I don't think you'll have to worry about that. But again, exercising and being proactive ahead of time makes a big difference with that. All right, we also talked about passive training. Drop. So that was an example of passive training. She came over and dropped the ball. I didn't ask her to drop, but when she dropped it, I gave her a verbal command. I wanted to pet her, but she was already going to start bouncing, so I didn't want to engage that and reinforce that. So basically, passive training is just waiting for the dog to do what you want. So the dog comes over to you, pet it and say, come. It sits down, pet it and say, sit. It barks, you can say, bark it and say, speak or woof if you want. Come. So she just came to me, I petted her under her chin, said the word come. And when I did it, I was very confident. The guardians were surprised that she didn't try to bite me when I reached over to pet her. But again, I've kind of created this scenario where she knows that I'm confident in my leadership. And when I reached to pet her, I didn't go, I saw the guardian once, she went like, and then the dog growled. I just went like this. So if you're confident, that's going to really help. But the more you enforce these rules and exercises, get the more exercise, the less of that you should get. Passive training is just waiting for the dog to organically or voluntarily offer you the behavior that you want and recognize or rewarding it. Remember, most of us trainer dogs misbehave. It comes to us, we ignore it. It lays down, we ignore it. It drops the ball, we ignore it. It sits, we ignore it. But it starts barking, we correct that. It starts scratching the door, we correct that. It growls, it bares its teeth, we correct that. Don't correct for the growling of the bear in the teeth. But the more that we pet them when they do the desired actions and behaviors, the more they are likely to emulate those. And after a while, like I said, the dogs will come and start sitting in front of you to prepay for the attention. Use passive training to come up with a command word for each dog to eat their food. So each one of you maybe says your favorite meal for one of the dogs. And then Oliver, you can do the same thing with Oliver. Even though he's blind, he still hears stuff. And so it's, say maybe, come up with, your favorite restaurant for him or whatever. And again, for him, scent is really important. So create that scent game where you do the confined area, or just have the other two dogs, maybe just have her in it, and then have Winston outside. And so that way, Oliver can be free to use his nose. If you start hiding treats around, that's going to be really beneficial. And it makes him feel good about himself. I'm trying to think, is there anything else you want me to go over? Make sure you're eating something first. I think I already said that. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to call me or text me if you have any questions or problems. If I don't hear from you, I can't help you. And unlike the other company that you used, I'm all about positive reinforcement. I've got thousands of videos I can share with you for other exercises and tips, the leash, and you've already watched some of them yourself. So please don't hesitate. The only time I'm mad at my clients is when they have a question and they don't message me, because I can't help you if that's not the case. All right, unless you tell me. Well, how about we come over here? Come on up. Come on. You got to come up here. It's right here. Bindi. Come here, Bindi. This is Bindi. Good looking girl. And this is Winston. And Oliver's in the back is taking a nap. He's tired. This is the roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you need it.